Hello again, Robert Radford, my series of 50 years of chess. In this next game, which was quite incredible, it took place this year at Frome in the intermediate in round 3. I was white again, and I played Elmira Walker from Down End. A very much improved player. When I played her a few years ago, I think it was a year or two ago, before that I beat her. But this time we met and she was a lot different than how I played her before. So let's have a look at this game. And it gets a bit scary at times. But she was so cool. I couldn't believe how cool she kept throughout the game. More cool than I did. So here we go. d4, knight f6, e3, g6 and bishop d3. Bishop g7, knight d2, d6, f4. So I've gone into a stonewall quite setup, and it's very difficult to break down a king fianchetto defence, like a King's Indian type thing, with bishop on d3. It's probably better e2, but anyway, we continued. Sorry. Knight d7, and I played knight f3, all correct. Defending the pawn on d4, and she played c5. She played b6, which was interesting because it means she can fianchetto that bishop there, and very interesting. So I castled, she castled. I played queen e1, which I normally do, to flick out to h4, as I showed you in one of my other games where I got a strong attack. And she played knight g4. I don't think this is a very good move because it doesn't get her anywhere. I just kick her back out, and then I come out of my queen, and then she went into h5 and I played g4. So she did very similar, or virtually the same as what that other guy I played, whoever it was. I can't remember now, but I showed you the game, and I got this huge build-up of pawns, all because of these knight moves. So she went back, and then I played e4. Look, all those pawns lined up. I certainly got space, if nothing else, and the promise of a strong attack. So she went back with her knight again. She moved it to this time to e8. I think she's covering that d pawn. So I played e5. So block stops all that. She went pawn takes pawn, and I played f takes, which now opens up it opens it up for me, so that I've got the half open file here of my rook once the knight moves. So she went bishop to b7. Yeah, so not very nice. I don't want to put my bishop in on e4 because that bishop's needed for the attack, but I can put my knight in there, which is what I did. And she took on d4. Naturally, most people would take d4, but I really want to get some steam up with an attack. So I decided I'd let it go, and I played bishop into g5. Well, at this point, I've got a +2, +1 on these light chess, whatever you call it. Anyway, she played f6. I took on f6. She took the pawn, and I checked her, sent her in the corner with a king. And again, I just ignored the attack on the bishop, which I shouldn't have done because the light chess is now showing that she has -4. So that was terrible for me. She probably should have just took the bishop. I'm sure that's probably winning. I didn't think it was because for some reason, but anyway, she didn't do that. I think she was a bit scared. Knight takes pawn, and then I'm attacking with a mate threat, which she might not be able to repel. So she took another pawn, and I played bishop h6. Excuse me. It's better out of dry throat. Now, after bishop h6, I wasn't going to leave my bishop on g5 any longer in case she did take the bishop. So bishop g6, she could play bishop takes e4 here, which I think is her best move. But she went pawn takes pawn again. And she really did like picking up my pawn, so I'm thinking, I hope this works out right or I'm going to lose the endgame. I've done this many times. So I played bishop takes bishop, she took with a king. I then played knight into d4 with the dangerous move knight e6 with the fork on queen, rook and king. But she combated that nicely with knight c7. That put a stop to that. I then went knight d6, attacking a bishop. And she covered that also with knight c5. I don't want to go knight takes b7 because she's got queen takes d4 check. And that's the bishop gone. So, I'm hanging on by my pants here in this attack. I'm trying to keep it alive, but I played that knight now to f5 check, offering it to her. But she takes, knight takes, and it's going to get a bit scary for her in that corner, and she sensed that danger and refused it. That's the second time she's refused a piece. But she's thinking, I've got the pawn, so I don't need it. I don't need it, just stay safe. So I played rook down to e7. Now I'm threatening mate on h7. The knight's no good to her now. So she played h5. I played bishop into f7. This is really going to break up her pawns and probably win the game. So she took the bishop, give out the exchange, and she can't take the knight now because of queen takes pawn check. And then when she goes to g8, I've got queen takes g6, and then she's got to go back to h1, and then it's mate on h7. So she went back to e8 with her knight, and she's covering that f pawn. So I checked her because the knight is now blocked off the queen on the back rank, which was nice for me. She moved to h8. I checked her again, and she didn't go back to h8 because she wants to win, obviously. And she went to g8. So I checked her on h6. She went into h8. But I had to bring my queen back because I cannot see how I can take this any further and let my knight go on d4 with a check. And there's nowhere I could place it. I couldn't see a better move. And this way I'm also got a chance picking up that b pawn. So she played a very nice move here, which was queen d5. Now this is threatening mate, of course, on h8. And there's only one way I can do anything about this, and that would be to go queen h2. But then she'd take the knight with a check, so I had to go rook takes bishop, queen takes. Then I picked up the pawn on b2. She played queen into d8, attacking the knight. And I'm still 2 pawns down here. So I went queen d2, offering that knight on d4, and I would get the knight on d8 with again a dangerous attack. So she went queen g7, which was a really nice move. Made it difficult for me to win this now. But there was a move, and I missed it. Pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, knight check. king g8. Now some people said to me afterwards, why didn't you take the rook with the knight? And I said, because she's got queen takes d4 check, and then she could pick out the other knight, so she'd get 2 knights for the rook. And I didn't fancy that one bit, so instead of doing that, I played knight e6. But just go back, I think I'm winning had I played knight c6. In fact, I'm sure I would have been. But the moment I went knight e6, Stockfish is showing me that I've gone from 3.8 plus to 0 with that move. It was a bad move. Bad move. So, why was it bad? Because she just took it, and once I retake, it's not much going on now. It looks good for me. It looks like I've got a very strong move where I can a discovered move, but it's not quite so simple. If I'd have gone knight c6, knight into c6, Stockfish says rook to c6. No, sorry. If I go knight to c6, Stockfish says for black, knight d6. Knight takes c8, queen d4 check. And from there on, it's a win for white. So, I played e6. She took the knight. I took the queen. And here, Elmira played queen e4 check. So, I'm not going to play the king onto the white squares because she can swap off next go with queen d5 check, and I'm losing 5 pawns against 2. And so I played rook f2, which was the right move, I'm sure. She went queen d1, and again I wasn't going to go on a white square because she swapped the queens off, so I went king to h7. Now she can't go queen d6 because I've got my knight on f7, can take it. So I took the pawn on g6. Stockfish was saying rook down to e2, but she played queen back to d4, covering the knight, and she's still 2 pawns up, and she's looking for ways to get me in check, so there is none at the moment. But here I realised I wasn't going to win this game. We were both desperately short of time. We had been for ages. We've been playing almost like lightning chess. And I was also feeling very tired, so I played knight h6 and offered her a draw. We're both back 0-0, even Stevens on Stockfish. So it was a good offer, I think. And she accepted. But she never showed any sign of panic at all throughout the game. She was ice cool, and I was very impressed with that. And we talked after the game, and I said to her, "You've improved massively," and I think that pleased her. So it was some compensation for neither of us winning. It was a really interesting game. I enjoyed it very much. She's a really nice person when you get to know her. She's very nice. If anyone's met her, I'm sure they'd agree with me what a nice lady she is, and a pleasure to play against. I hope maybe one day we'll meet again over the chessboard. But I hope you enjoyed that game. But for me, it was a valuable point because I went on and won the intermediate in that tournament, and she didn't quite make it into the 4 of us that came first. She got knocked out in 1 round just before the end. So thank you for this time together, and I hope you enjoyed this game. I'm sure if you go through the game, you'll see lots of moves that were I could have certainly played better. But I gave it everything I had, and you can only do your best. So thanks, and see you again next time.